Around the NFL podcast. Opted for a 1-year prove-it deal with a guaranteed bag.
Welcome from the all sorts of issues. From the Chris Wessling Podcast Studio, welcome to Around the NFL. I'm Dan Hanzus, coming to you from a room filled with some heroes. Marc Sessler, Gregg, Rosenthal, and I only now just realized Colleen off the hook. I like doing the intro where you kick the door in. Really good content, and yet I forgot this time, so congratulations. Colleen Wolfe, to my right.
Thank you. This is a huge moment for me. I didn't get kicked out of the studio after I set myself up, only to have to come back in and do a whole thing. And it's been a little bit of a rough start with the timer going awry here for
Dan's
Dan off the top
timer.
of the show.
Yeah. It's a very cute little timepiece.
You do have an off-season vibe about you, though, Colleen.
Thank you.
That's quite great.
I sense it.
I feel great.
It's the summer of Connie.
It's the summer of Connie, and we are thriving. We're doing a lot of great stuff and having a really good time. And yeah, I wish that the summer never ended. An endless summer would be perfect.
When you're saying we, is it the royal we? What is?
It's Colleen and Connie. We're both working in concert.
Like there's Gonzo's in the mix there as like a...
That was the question. I just want to make sure
supporting
John was still in the picture here.
Yeah, and John, and Blitzen, and Dasher, and the whole gang.
Those are the dogs.
Yep.
What is Gonzo's vibe in the current day?
Oh, he just got a haircut, so he is feeling great. Went to the barber, got a fade, getting ready for vacation.
Where is Connie and Gonzo going this summer?
We're going to Greece and Cyprus.
Nice.
So,
Lakeisha joining you for part
and
of that.
Lakeisha's
That's
going
pretty
to come with
exciting.
us.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
We have a group of like 30 Greeks that are going to Greece. So I'm sure what could go wrong? Really nothing.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Right now you're in the what Marc refers to as the cell, the prison cell, the studio. What's up, Marc? How are you?
Why would I? I have never called it that. I am proud of this studio.
You do seem strangely nervous, though, about this particular show. I think we've probably done about 1,400 podcasts, most of them in person.
Hell in the cell.
Many where we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. And yet this one, it has you tense on June 2nd.
We will get into why, but I was told minutes before we kicked off the episode that there, a certain amount of planning goes into these things.
Some more than others.
Right.
Yeah.
And that if my messaging is usurped by someone before I go and do my turn, which you'll see how that works, that I have to pivot and come up with something out of thin air.
That doesn't sound
I just got that message. I just got that message now. So now I'm feeling a little on edge.
And I knew you because Colleen and I come from the sort of the family of preparation, maybe over preparation. And so when you're told Well,
Colleen famously has taken improv classes. So I think Colleen's going to be okay. And I believe you. Today we are doing the glossary of NFL terms for the offseason, A through Z. We divvied up the alphabet. And yes, obviously, because we don't talk about what we're going to talk about beforehand. That's for all those bogus TV shows that you watch.
That's right.
Never on this network, of course, but on so many other television shows, they have these pre-production meetings. And they are just filled with exact beat-by-beat takes of what I'm going to talk about. Here's my take. Here's your take. And then there's no mix-ups, everything's covered. No, That's not what we do. Boring.
Very sterile.
Snore. We are going live here, and if someone hits on your topic that you have later in the alphabet, that's it. You got to pivot, baby, and you got to be quick on your feet. So I understand you're a preparation guy.
I'm absolutely going to melt down.
And I absolutely respect how you go about your process for this program.
Thank you, Dan.
But only if it doesn't get in the way of his process.
Well, that's
right.
Also accurate, Greg.
Well, I believe it's very important to let the tugboat take us where we need to get. So I mean no disrespect by that, but just follow the tugboat and it's going to be fine.
I do trust the tugboat.
So far we have Colleen going... What is the royal we? Is that second person? I don't even know what that is. And then Dan going third person. This side of the desk is really on fire.
It's the summer. It's the summer of this side of the desk.
I love it.
All right, so we're going A through Z, hopefully in under 3 hours. That was another source of consternation for Marc, the idea that this show might go a little bit long. We're going to try to keep it tight.
I feel that we're
too.
painting certain pictures that not. I think we were told by Justin, our producer, the Gravedigger, that last year when we did this, it did stretch on. to an inordinate amount of minutes. And are we concerned with maybe tightening it up just a little bit or being
something to keep an eye on? Something to keep an eye on.
And we'll pull back the curtain in the Tugboat's captain chamber. And when there was initially a news segment on today's episode, I said, no, let's kill that.
I love
let's
that.
Streamline it a little bit.
I love
let's
what you
try
did.
to tighten the show
Right.
up. Doo-doo.
That's a good captain.
It's not coming from a place of critiquing you or your leadership.
And I'm not critiquing you. I was just stating simply what was happening before we started rolling today.
Right.
A sense of anxiety emanating from you.
It wasn't hidden. I told you that's not how I like to do this particular show. But let's see what happens.
I'm not critiquing you is a lot like no disrespect, but because you are critiquing him.
It is complete critique and disrespect mixed together, meshing.
It's going to be a great episode. I can feel it. So let's get it going. Gravedigger, I guess try to keep us on task, but really don't. Just,
good luck with that.
Yeah, let's just roll through it. I'll get us going with the letter A. And again, I know some people like to listen to every episode during the offseason, our favorite listeners. Some football fans disconnect a little bit, and then they jump back in.
Those are lesser listeners.
Those are lesser people.
Lower tier.
Yes. So if you are one of those people and you happen to see this in our social media feed and click in, perfect decision, because this is going to give you a general idea of where we are in the NFL, what you need to know as training camp approaches, just the general vibe of what's going on in our league. So let's get into it. It starts with A, and it starts with
It usually does.
a man who's one of my favorite players in the history of the NFL in my time watching our league, a man that some people call Fitzmagic, but I prefer his original name, the Amish Rifle. Remember that?
I do.
Totally forgot
As Gregg
about
would
that.
say, the real ones know. Right, Gregg?
I'd say that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I got to be
Dan
honest.
would have put that into a number of early NFL.com stories.
Do we have a Fitzmagic clip or Amish Rifle clip?
Fitzpatrick throwing over the middle. Touchdown! Mike Gesicki.
Ah, yes, the famous Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mike Gesicki, 8-yard touchdown catch.
Can't say enough about the way Ryan Fitzpatrick has stayed today. He stayed in there, taking heat all day with the hits he's taken.
Well, when you can get Trent Green's trenchant
Right.
analysis,
We're playing a
Gotta
joke
let
on
it play,
ourselves
gotta
here
let
at this
it
point.
breathe.
it's still playing.
For a
It's
three-point lead.
still on.
At about 11:07 this morning, I told Gravedigger, hey, it'll be good to throw to a great call of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, that's not a big window to dig up the call. So the fact that we ended up with Trent Green, partially on Tugboat as well. But yeah, we got it.
That one,
Yeah.
that
Tugboat with
was
the mea culpa. I like
Yeah.
that.
Week 17, 2019, Brady's last regular season
Okay.
game as a Patriot.
Hey.
Last second touchdown. I also
That's a fair point. That might be the
I
last.
took us into shallow water.
I
there
wouldn't say
accidentally.
that was the last great moment of his career, though. You could have gone.
I would have went with the face mask.
face mask.
I looked
Yeah,
for
I
the
would've
face
done that
mask.
as
The
well.
announcers
I think
botched it.
It was a test.
It wasn't
Oh.
well called. They didn't even hardly mention the face mask. So I was like, that was the play I
You
looked
picked
for
a good
first.
moment, but the call did not resonate with
Yeah,
anyone
I agree.
here or probably any of the listeners.
Anyway, so Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Amish Rifle, Fitzmagic.
I mean, he's not Amish if he uses electricity, which we know he does. But I get where they're
Right.
he
It
has
was
a beard.
a beard
Right.
bit. Out of Harvard, of course, played for 9 teams across 17 seasons. He announced his retirement on Thursday. Such a popular player and a productive player who seemed to get better in the tail end of his career. 39 years old. He suffered a bad hip injury in the second quarter of the Washington football team's season opening loss to the Chargers in September, had to have surgery. So unfortunately, Connie, that's how his career ended, but it was almost fitting because he was kind of a fearless dude. He was never the fastest guy, the strongest guy. He didn't fit the profile of a starting quarterback in our league today, and yet he was fearless. And he was a lot of fun to watch.
Fearless, and he had this personality that everyone was attracted to, whether it was his teammates or us, the media. I always loved him so much on Thursday Night Football because he constantly gave us a good moment, whether it was post-game, whether it was in the game. When, I forget what year that was, when he came out with the Hawaiian shirt on, unbuttoned all the way, with his chest hair hanging out, and he's like, honey, I'll be home, stay up and wait for me. He was just the best.
It's because they were going to bang.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's what I think. They have a lot of children. So
Let's
Yeah.
leave
That was the
something to
messaging.
I just like
imagination.
there's
Right.
some people who aren't as good reading between the lines, so I was trying to.
No, you did a nice job.
Also,
to,
the crude manner in which you. I was uncomfortable with the whole thing, Greg, but go on.
I love how he came in. I'll always remember as a Mike Martz greatest show on turf in its later days, like 7th round pick, and immediately was like a fantasy guy who threw a lot of yards in that first season as like a 7th round rookie. And you mentioned, Dan, how he sort of got better and better throughout his career, and that's true. But he did get that payday back in 2011, like for the Bills.
That was the Amish Rifle era.
When he got the big contract, and then he led the league in interceptions that year. Like it was midway through the year, but he was always going for it. And I think there's a lesson there for some backups and some maybe like medium talent guys that, like, especially at quarterback, you're better off playing like a Brett Favre or a Ryan Fitzpatrick and going for it, because you're going to have some highs and then you're going to get contracts based on those highs. If you just play it safe, which he never did. He led the league in yards per attempt in 2018 as a member of the Buccaneers, which is an era I feel like people forget about with Fitzpatrick.
Well, that Bucks period, I think, was a pivot point too, where for me, Ryan Fitzpatrick is someone who just became more and more comfortable in his own skin as his career went on, more enjoyable, more at ease, more filled with joy. I thought he got better looking as his career went on. Like if you look at him early, he just became like he became more and more Ryan Fitzpatrick-esque, and
He really grew into himself.
Yes, I enjoyed the entire journey.
His 2015 season with the Jets was also a perfect snapshot into his career, because he put that team on a magic carpet ride to got them to 10-5 on the doorstep of the playoffs, and then threw 3 interceptions in the last game of the season against a bad Bills team to keep the Jets out of the playoffs. And like that was kind of him. Like you lived with all those like daring throws he would make, and when they went well and when he got hot, he'd be hot as a pistol and be like, this guy is amazing. But then he could like flip it, and all of a sudden he would be a guy that turnovers over and over.
Where are we on the clock there? Just let me know.
Mark's
12 minutes
concerned.
here. We're one letter through, so we're doing great.
All right, so
What's the math on that?
12 times
Well,
26.
that's not counting, the intro, but we've been on a couple minutes.
That's
on Fitz. You're right.
312 minutes.
Yeah.
Also,
fair.
I do believe
Some
that
will be longer than
Ryan
others.
Fitzpatrick deserves the respect, Mark. So while we're going to get you out of here as soon as possible, but Mr. Fitzpatrick,
I hope you know that I
whatever
do
happens
enjoy
next,
broadcasting with you. But I really just,
in under 67 minutes.
well, yeah, I'm with myself also.
I get it. All right, B.
Okay, here
Happy
we go.
trails, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yep. And
B.
I guess this means he's going to Amazon if he retired, right? Or
I don't
maybe
know.
not.
Why
Who
not?
knows?
Why everyone
Anyway.
is doing that? So you've got probably inside information we
scoops?
don't, but that was good.
Well, no, it's
You're
been
taking
mentioned.
out Marshawn.
It's been mentioned that he's
I didn't know
linked
that.
with Amazon, and he will be,
Got it.
Yeah.
pivoting
well,
on
he
his own
sent,
front.
this came
He'll
out in
do
a group
great.
text. It hasn't even been, which
Well,
I like.
I'm just playing along, and I didn't know if Colleen wanted to share more about what she had as a scoop, potentially.
No
But-
scoop, just
okay.
connecting dots.
All right. Well, there you go.
Okay.
And I bet he'll be good. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right, here we go. B is for Blitzen. Yeah, that's the name of my dog, but also it's what the Giants would like to do next season a lot of. A departure completely from what they did
Ooh,
the
look
previous
at you.
season with Patrick Graham, a more conservative approach he had, but I don't know if they have the personality to pull it off, all of the Blitzen that they want to do, especially without Jabril Peppers. We know Don Wink Martindale. I don't know what to do with this name, because do I just call him Wink Martindale?
He
likes
likes
it.
Wink.
It's just Wink.
He likes
Yeah.
Wink.
All right. It
He
just
likes
feels like maybe
He's an old
we're
man,
not
so it
there
doesn't
yet,
make
me and
sense,
Wink,
yeah.
to do
But
that.
that's what he wants. So
Okay, if
you
Wink
gotta
wants that,
respect
then
his
Wink
wishes.
He's
gets that.
asking for that.
Well, Colleen is basically saying she's considering declining.
Yeah, the option.
Winks.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean,
Wish.
I think that's respectable. It is his parents' given name.
I think if
Okay.
everybody else is doing it, I think I have to do it. So Wink is going to go to work at training camp with a lot of different his vision that he has here, because last year with the Ravens, the secondary was completely ravaged and he couldn't really do what he wanted to do. So we'll see if they do a lot of blitzing next year.
Our buddy Kayvon Thibodeau, we'll see if he makes an instant difference on this defense. Now, Connie, you famously hate the Giants. I mean, you're a Philadelphia fan, and you guys are nuts. And you're passionate. Are you concerned about the Giants at all in 2022?
No, they're always on the radar because
Right.
they're right there in the division, but not concerned. There's a lot of changes.
That's some brash confidence from you, just a flat out no. The
And, yeah.
G-men do not exist in your
Their
world.
defense looks terrible on paper. It looks like one of the worst defenses in the league. Yeah, they added Kayvon Thibodeau. That's nice. I like when you add a guy like Wink Martindale, though, to a defense that doesn't have as much talent. It's kind of like college football.
It helps.
You need a little scheme craziness. Like, that's the type of team that you want to Wink Martindale. You might not want him with the Ravens anymore. They kind of didn't after last year. It was a mutual parting of ways, but he was probably getting the boot. But I think he's someone that can cook up pressure because in the back end, their secondary on paper, I would say, is among the worst in the NFL.
Well, and their biggest move of the offseason was cutting James Bradbury, who weeks later winds up with the Eagles. That's not how you operate.
I could
in
see
these
it
months.
working, though, for him. He has a lot of experience, Wink Martindale, in cooking up some pressure. And he has Thibodeau, he has Leonard Williams. It's like they're not terrible, but on the back end, it looks pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
My little behind the scenes. My wife works in the entertainment industry, and she was speaking to a high-ranking person with a storied in a storied comedy realm of the entertainment business.
Okay.
And they were having a conversation. It came up that I work for this company and we do this podcast, and the person that my wife was conversing with was like, "Oh, is there anybody out there in the NFL that maybe would be interesting on camera?" And immediately, the one thing my wife has listened to on our show was the Kayvon Thibodeau interviews, because I said, "You're going to be interested by this guy." This a few weeks back. And then Emily relayed this to the high-ranking entertainment official, and they're like, "Whoa, okay, I'm putting him on our radar, on our list." So
A career
that.
builder.
how about that?
If they actually make that call, I think you should find a way to let Kayvon Thibodeau know
We will,
that's
yeah.
where it
Yeah,
started. Because
certainly.
we went from what?
Not friends.
To acquaintances to this is like
Now that's friendship.
Yeah.
partners.
Potentially commission there, too.
Yeah. This is a great step before we move on to see about the Giants and how bad they were last year. This is from Jordan Renan from ESPN. The Giants
I used to work with him. That's the only reason I know.
Nice. B for buddies. The Giants were outscored 79-0 in the final 2 minutes of the first half in 2021. That's a real stat.
They're going to be way more watchable. Greg Roman is going to make them more watchable.
All right,
Not Greg Roman.
C for Gregg Rosenthal.
Brian Dable. I always mix up Brian Dable
Bang,
and Greg
B
Roman.
for bang earlier.
Well, they don't look alike.
A lot of B's.
C, ceremonial. And that's the type of one-day contract that my guy, Inconvenient Truth, Frank Gore, signed on
Yeah, boy.
Thursday. Now, Dan had sent me a text about a month ago when Gore initially retired. I was in Massachusetts. He wanted me to send in like a voicemail message, and I was like, no, I don't want to. I mean, I'm here.
It's like, all right, that was a bit of a reveal. It was all for
Here's
show.
the reveal. It's not worth it. It's not going to be that great content. And I was like, at some point.
I mean, Greg was sending it in. He's probably right. So.
Right, that's what I mean. It was just gonna be. I was gonna be
How am I
awkward.
getting banged for like nonstop commitment to the show issues? And Greg's like, "Nah, I'm too busy to like
Greg
send
would
in
have
a
been way
2-minute."
too self-conscious recording it, and he would have been able to hear it in the file.
I wasn't in the mood. Plus, I think we could go stitch back many times where we've probably half retired.
I don't know why I'm
Frank
doing
Gore,
this.
but I don't care. I'm really glad that he signed back with the 49ers because I think him and that team, you think of them together, and I think back to his rookie season. When he entered the league, coming off a torn ACL as a third-round pick. And my whole thing with that, he was a Hall of Famer, and Wes and I would argue about this like 6 years ago, before he was ever in the top 3 of rushing, and now it just seems inevitable. He was a Hall of Famer because his peak was better than people realized. He was one of the 5 best running backs in the league immediately. He was an all-pro in the second season that he was in the league, and he is the best running back I've ever seen in my entire life at vision, which is just like such an important part of a running back, which is he's behind the line of scrimmage, he's looking at what's in front of him, and he somehow knows I don't know how he does it, where the hole is going to be, seeing steps ahead. And this was a guy people got on him like, oh, his wonder look it wasn't how he had a learning disability. And he was one of the smartest running backs because of that. He always knew where the defense was going to be, always knew exactly where to run. And I'm glad he's getting his flowers. And now he's in the front office in San Francisco.
Would have been a great voice memo.
Yeah.
When he retired.
But it would have ruined right now.
We've just gotten it right now, though. I mean, you mentioned Greg Roman. He was the perfect pairing with Greg Roman in that Harbaugh offense. I mean, he was so fun to watch. highly physical, a punisher. I'll never forget one night watching him on like a Thursday night football game at Irish Times, our place. And there was a Seahawks fan in there they were destroying the Seahawks. And this guy was just like shouting at the top of his lungs because he was alarmed by what the Niners offense was doing behind Frank Gore. And I just laughed at that man. I giggled at him.
I am always sad they didn't win that Super Bowl because people forget he had a monster game in the Super Bowl, and he is the one with a long run that set up the 1st and goal, which ended with that Colin Kaepernick pass that will forever be remembered by 49ers.
Love Frank Gore.
Not a great play call. Michael Crabtree, not interference. Niners fans.
Jimmy Smith, forever.
All right. Mark, are you ready?
Yes.
D.
What letter? D. All right, D is for dead presidents.
You just had you had like a flash of panic and then a
It's
side glance.
And then
at
you're like,
Greg.
no, I have it all right now. It's all
I
highlighted.
prepared all this.
Okay.
Did we get that panic side glance from Mark
was
on
so
camera?
good.
Okay, maybe we can bring that back at some point.
I'm having a weird day. Okay.
That's a drop.
D is for dead presidents, not Abe or JFK or George Washington, if George Washington even existed, speculation, but dollars.
Okay.
Big, bad, green, rectangular dollars. D is for dropping dollars from the sky. That's what the dollars will be doing. Onto the lawn of Debo, the destroyer. D is for do it soon. D is for don't F this up. D is also for Dan Hanzus, a truly professional broadcaster who I've learned to curry favor with during segments of this nature.
That was perfect.
Good. Pay Debo. Keep him happy. Is he
Well,
at
it-
OTAs?
He's
not
around.
there, but they expect that he will be at the mandatory mini
John
camp.
Lynch basically said there is literally no way we're letting him anywhere else than San Francisco.
You know, one thing I've learned about John Lynch, too, when he's in front of a microphone talking to the media, always the truth.
All the time. He never
I mean,
lies.
do you think there's any
Straight
chance
shooter.
Debo's on another team?
He's not
No,
alone
he's
in
not.
that.
He's not going to allow Debo to go
These
anywhere.
guys are professional liars, all these dudes, for the most part.
It's fair. It's fair.
Remember what Pete Carroll said about Russell Wilson, like
Oh,
7
yeah.
days before he was traded.
Yeah.
Remember what Mike Vrabel said about A.J. Brown?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, how you doing with that? You all right?
It's all good. We're good.
Gravedigger.
But Vrabel said that. Like, why are you guys making this A.J. Brown thing a story? It's so obviously not a story.
Remember Gravedigger's live Instagram session, like seconds after?
It
I
was
felt
in his feelings.
sad for you.
We gave him a little pass there. All right, E. E is for extension, as in the around the NFL
Ooh.
agreeing to an extension to remain at NFL Media and its related subsidiaries. Look at us.
Nobody's going anywhere.
Wait, you chose this as the song? That's awesome.
Turn this up a little bit.
Everybody's got a price.
We definitely have a price.
Everybody's gonna pay. 'Cause the $1 Million Man always gets his way.
Ted DiBiase, he's ensnared in a scandal right now. Greg, we were talking about.
I'm not sure I want to be associated with Ted DiBiase, who, like Brett Favre, has been implicated in stealing money from welfare in the state of Mississippi. But it is great. It is a great
This is
moment.
awesome.
It's a great moment.
This is great. It's been such a long ride with the NFL. Mark, you and I starting 2010. Greg, a couple years later. The podcast starting up with Wes a year after that. And we've been very fortunate, mostly because of a loyal audience that we've built and held through the years to get in a position where our conversations with the NFL and other places were interesting to us. But at the end of the day, the NFL came to play, and we felt like this was the best place for us moving forward. And I'm really excited, Mark, because this has been a home to us for a long time. And the way the last few months played out, stressful, some anxiety, some of us more than others. I was dealing with anxiety behind the scenes about how this was all going to play out, but it played out in the end exactly how I think it should have for us and for the show. And I think the audience will be happy how this all plays out as well.
I hope so. I mean, the audience is a huge part of it. It's been a wild journey, and I can think back to when Dan and I started, at the NFL, a different location than this one, like a hollowed out sort of Death Star type office that was barely looking like a newsroom, that Dan and I were working 3 days a week and making essentially what a high school person would be making at like a
paper boy.
Yeah, a paper boy, essentially, throwing papers at someone's driveway in rain or shine. And the lockout occurred. And the only reason that Dan and I weren't whacked, because there was a lot of people that got let go, was that our salaries essentially probably didn't even appear on the payroll. So, fortunate. And then Gregg arrived, and Wes arrived, and Colleen arrived, and everyone else.
Yeah, sometimes you hear NFL athletes, and when they sign like a contract, they said like that's often the biggest day of their career. It's a big deal to them, and I don't think we need to like deny that this is one of the biggest times of our career together. Like it really is meaningful that like we've been together this long and we really were close and thinking about like what are we going to do for our future. And it's like one of those moments you think that you just got to appreciate. And you mentioned Wes, and one of the reasons it's great to be here is every show, Dan's going to start it by saying we're here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. Now, there was a part of me that if we were going to leave, I thought, well, Wes would actually kind of like that studio's there. And then we left. I don't know if he was exactly a loyal company man, but it's an amazing thing. And I'm sure we all thought about this yesterday when we really knew that this is what was going to happen was, it is one of the days where you really miss Wes, because Wes came out here. And I had that relationship with him before Roto-World, and I always felt like him and I coming out here together, I had been working for the NFL for a year before him, was at least a little bit, I felt responsible. Like he was taking a chance on this and taking a chance on my word too, and that this was all going to work out. And obviously I know how like amazingly proud he was about like what we did as a podcast. So we all know that came to fruition, but you wish he would be here on a day like this to like really enjoy all of it with Keisha.
And people have different feelings about things like this, but I've kind of felt like Wes, wherever he is aware that like this all happened so systematically after his passing that it changed everything, and he would have been very proud of this for us and for himself.
He would have been proud. As one of the great things about him is I think he appreciated what he did have, and he was proud of what we had accomplished, and he would be really proud, I think, of this moment.
We would finish the show
rewarded.
today. We'd probably go get a beer somewhere and talk it out. So yeah, definitely
a beer.
I'm so glad.
This is Wes we're talking about.
Like, congratulations.
I'm glad you're here for this too, because you have been as big a part of this
is like
as
one
anyone.
of the best days for me too, because thank God you guys aren't leaving. I can't deal with any more change selfishly. Like I can't lose any more people. Nobody is going anywhere. And you guys were my first friends when I moved across the country and started working here. So this show is like so much more to me than just work. It doesn't even feel like work. I would not be coming in to do the show during the summer of Connie if I didn't actually like being here and sitting with you guys and hanging out, because it doesn't feel like work ever.
And that absolutely factored in for all of us as well. Like the idea that we'd be able to keep working with Colleen and Graver and everyone behind the glass and Matt Schneider and all the people behind the scenes that have made this.
Go see Henry in the UK.
Yep. Henry's leaving us here, but he's still in the company, and so we're still together with him as well. So we're keeping the ship moving.
I also just on Friday got a new company cell phone, and so that kind of
you're in too deep now.
That steered my decision, because it's like I'd have to go turn it back in and then go figure out to get another one. Do you keep the same phone number?
Too much work.
Right.
So, and again, thank you to the listeners, because none of this is happening in our lives and our careers if you guys weren't along for the ride.
Even the lower tier ones that skip some of these
I'm even going to let them off the hook now.
They won't hear this.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But that's fine. Whenever you pop in, we'll take it.
All right. So anyway, that's what's going on with the show. Good news. Let's take a break and continue in hour 3 of the Around the NFL Offseason Glossary. All right, let's move. Let's roll. Here we go. We got that business out of the way. F, Colleen.
Okay, so I wanted to go with French fries, but I just couldn't figure out a way to work it in. So instead, I'm going to go with fantasy, as in the one I'm imagining for Marcus Mariota. Now, I love a redemption story. I love a reunion, and this has both with him with Arthur Smith in Atlanta after their time together in Tennessee. They desperately needed to add a wide receiver. The Falcons did after losing Calvin Ridley for the year and Russell Gage. So they drafted Drake London. That's great. They have Kyle Pitts, but guys, the roster is the lightest on talent in the entire league. So this is, I fear what's to come for them. Another F word, and I don't think it's going to be good.
I can think of another F word for Falcons fans watching from the stands this year.
So it is truly just a fantasy. I don't think it's going to happen.
They did unveil a red helmet throwback uniform.
Oh, good. Is that going to have the win games?
That's early period Dion that makes me think of. That's
it hit me because
they look beautiful.
I do like him, actually. Yeah. A.J. Terrell is the one that did it. A.J. Terrell, who I really like, was a Pro Bowl quality cornerback. But it does say something about the Falcons right now that A.J. Terrell is kind of their guy they're going to be face of the franchise guy. You took one of my. I was going to make Olamide Zacchaeus.
Yeah.
And
you're going to be quick on the feet.
You got to change it. But yeah, it is a little concerning. This is the time of year you want to be excited to watch all 32 teams. Surprise us, Arthur Smith. Make this Mariota, Drake London, Pitts thing watchable, because on paper it might not be.
I mean, Arthur Smith essentially was part of the reason that Mariota was benched for Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. So I don't know how long the leash will be when you have Desmond Ridder sitting there. But Arthur Smith last year, and I know, Dan, you disagreed a little bit where Gregg and I were coming with the Falcons at times. He coached them up to wins they would not have had under a coach.
That was a 3-win team that they won
With Cordero
7.
Patterson,
I don't know if that's what you want, but
I disagree that they were any good.
I think maybe we got caught a little bit up in the.
They weren't. They were like the worst. They easily could have had the number 1 overall pick, and they managed to win 7 games. So that was a certain sort of okay. All right.
Speaking of the Falcons and their defense, we talk about Deion Jones, who's a bit of a mystery character, a former star, a young star for them in their Super Bowl year. And what's his deal? Well, he's missing the team's offseason workout program after undergoing a procedure to fix a shoulder injury.
Well, I think they want to dump that salary.
Right. So that is, and, obviously, if he's got shoulder issues, never good, especially if you're a tackler of the football. Let's move on. Well, the football carrier. You don't tackle the football.
You could jump on a fumble or something, but
let's keep moving. Gregg, G, fitting.
I know, and you gave me the letter G, and I just thought I'm gonna hit the nail on the head here.
It's about me.
I'm just going Gregg.
There it is.
Where are all the Greggs at these days? Once a great name, and that would be the definition here.
That's your interpretation.
Actually, I've always hated the name Gregg, but once a prominent name, a common name.
It's about me.
Now it's fallen totally off the radar. G is a great letter at the very least. Return of the G. G unit. 60% G. Nothing but a G thing. G.
Are these all your nicknames?
I don't even know.
Wait,
some of them
all
are.
the
Some
other
of them
ones
are
were famous pop culture references, and then you threw in your own nickname.
Well, I
pot, meat, kettle.
But I also think that's a great nickname. I mean, if nothing else, it's a good rap name, 60% G. I'm not a rapper. The point is G.
Thanks for that clarification.
What is the point, Gregg?
G Unit is such a good nickname.
G Unit. Oh, G. Just G alone is like a nickname. Not many letters that works with, but it does.
True.
Triple
My point
G.
is we got to start bringing back the Greggs. We have Greg Newsome, who's on the Browns, but there's almost no Greggs left.
Greg Olsen in the booth.
Greg Olsen's in the booth.
Gumbel in the booth?
Yeah,
Greg
Forrest Gregg was a great player. But I just think after a while, I looked. Gregg is not one of the 1,000 most common names right now in the United States. It's not even on the list. And so I think it's time to start bringing back Gregg.
Don't you feel like the people have told you how they feel about the concept of bringing? I mean, if it's not in the top 1,000, they've kind of.
I actually felt the same way pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
Never liked the name, but now when I think about the versatility of the G, me and Gregg Williams are kind of the 60% Gs in the NFL sphere with the third G on the end. We need to pick that up. We need to improve on things.
I like it. I like how it ties into the offseason landscape of the NFL. I think Gregg's fine. I think it's a fine name. Now, names are cyclical. They fall out of the picture. Mark's not going anywhere.
Mark with a C is,
that's got a little edge to it.
Well, it's like when you go to those
I
little.
want to see your birth certificate. I want to know that it's Mark with a C for sure.
I can
You
deliver
think he's
it.
lying?
Deliver me the birth
Why would
certificate.
why would
That's my
I have
trope.
lied to
Edge, a little edge to you.
I think it's got a French flair to it.
Ooh.
That's
I'm
what
saying.
I've
Well,
been
you're-
told.
Mark's a French boy.
Yeah, well, he's really British. I don't know if you know this, but
England, yeah.
he spent his formative years
British
in
roots?
Surrey.
Colleen's not a very popular name.
No.
Damashek attacked it at one point on Twitter, saying it was a weird name.
Maybe it's not connected
It's
to
got
the
Irish
offseason,
songs about it?
Yeah, because it means
It's not.
girl in Gaelic, so it's not very original. Mom and Dad.
All right. What'd you say there, Greg?
It's not connected to the offseason.
That's fine,
I
though.
just want to bring it back. I just bring it back.
I think you're going to have to do more, though. I don't know.
Greg Olson. Greg Olson's a good call. He's in a
Greg
prominent
Rousseau?
spot right now.
Greg Abbott.
There are Gregs. I think that is
God.
established.
It's a tough situation for the Greg community right now.
It's a dizzying campaign by you, Greg.
Like, who's your worst name? Like, who's the worst? Like, for Greg, it's Greg Abbott. Like, who's like the worst Colleen? Who's the
Not
worst Mark?
many to choose
Who's the
from.
worst Justin? I'm going to think about the worst Dan. Let's get back to it.
Okay.
If you are stumped for your letter, you could substitute it with the worst version of your name.
But that also takes thought.
Well, I'm just giving you options. All right, let's move on to H with Marc Sessler.
All right, H is for Hackett. First name Nathaniel, the rare first-year coach who I think will catch flack if his team, with a new quarterback, new offensive scheme, and new defense, if his team doesn't roll into the AFC title game on fire. I like his cute little crush on Ciara. I like his past exploits as a hip-hop instructor. I dig everything about Mr. Hackett's overall vibe, but I am slightly concerned about his ability to meet expectations in year one in a hostile, rough-and-tumble AFC West.
It's funny you used him because I was thinking of using him for G. Maybe it would have been better for the word garrulous, which would be defined as excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters. And I don't know if that's Nathaniel Hackett in real life, but I feel like he is a guy when he's in front of the microphone. Maybe the way his nerves come out is he just keeps talking a little more on things that don't really matter.
Oh, I think that's
great for us.
absolutely true.
Yes, and I love the word garrulous. I mean, I think it should be used more.
I got a really good word coming up too. So if we're sharing some good underrated words.
Oh.
For future letters.
Yeah, it's coming up in a second.
This is a big day for vocabularies everywhere.
Yes. Are we?
Well, where are we on the time? 36 minutes
think we
in?
can move
about
on.
that. Okay. That was H.
Yes, that was H.
Also, is
great.
she here? Because you specifically requested I say it on the podcast. A happy birthday to Christy Stapleton.
Yeah.
One of the great people
Oh,
behind
she's
the
not
scenes.
even back there
She's
right
not
now.
back
She
there.
went to get a little lunch, birthday lunch.
We did wish her. She came in here and we all wished her happy
let her
birthday.
know,
you know.
okay.
I will let her
Yeah,
know.
when
She's aware.
When we did a show as Mark and I, Dan was gone, and I referred to people that just were clearly checked out, not paying attention to the show, and were
Right.
bored by us, visibly.
Right.
It was Christy.
Christy.
It's mostly Christy.
Right. Well, that's happening
Now
again
she's
behind
not
the
even
glass.
here.
She's a
That's
Jersey
nice on her
girl, though,
birthday.
so I like her. Randy Chavez, he's behind the glass too. He's always paying attention.
I consider it more
He's
on
plugged
us.
in as hell.
If we were better, then she would have been enthralled.
Right.
It was our fault.
All right.
And
Connie.
she turns 25, by the way.
She's
in case-
literally out
she's
to
a
lunch
kid.
right now.
Yeah.
She's a kid. That was for
Well, that's-
me.
I mean,
I was
she's an adult.
5 years away at 25 from taking the paperboy job with the NFL.
And that didn't happen to me till I was 36.
Right.
So it was another full decade of lunacy before that
I think I was
set in.
hosting a golf show.
Oh, you were. And someone, I'm not saying who,
Oh.
someone got in touch with an official on YouTube and put that behind a private wall of some kind. So now no one can access that archive.
What, inside golf?
Yeah. Did you have anything to
I
do with that?
didn't. No, because that requires a lot of
L
effort.
for liar.
Way too much effort for me.
All right, I and Jay are going to be together. You know why, Connie? Because I got a little peek of your screen, and we're talking about the same thing.
Damn.
And that works out
Okay.
because it's the same stuff here.
Okay.
So then this is the word I like, intransigence.
Ooh, that is good.
Whoa.
It's for those not in the know. You know, those who know, Greg, right?
If you know, you know.
It's a noun, refusal to change one's views or to agree about something. And Connie, what is J?
Janky, like Seattle's offseason.
Yeah.
I hate what they did. Shipping off a star quarterback and then thinking that
Intransigence.
Drew Lock and earmuffs, Greg. Earmuffs.
I mean,
Yes,
we're
thank
wearing
you.
big things on
Geno
our
Smith,
ears.
that is
You would have
concerning.
to put your hands under the ear The headset.
I think that they probably have had the worst offseason of any team in the entire NFL.
I'm with you. That's a loaded
It's
question
tough.
considering what's happening this offseason. But I will say
Well, that's true.
that the refusal to change one's views for Pete Carroll, who's 71, 72 years old, it's one thing to say, all right, I'm done with this Russell Wilson marriage, and given the state of ownership and the sway I have in the organization, this is my chance to get a clean break. I'm actually okay with that. Like, if you think you've seen the best of Russell Wilson, you think you get a bounty back for him, which they did, maybe not as big as some people thought they would, send him to Denver, start over. But I just don't see the logic, Gregg. It's the intransigence of the idea of saying, all right, now we're going to roll with these two, just the guys, a couple Jags, and it's like you're going to give away another year of the team and some expensive players on your roster and the remaining prime years of certain guys. I don't know.
Well, number one, the team building process hasn't ended. I'm going to leave them a possibility that someone else will be on their team at some point at quarterback. But I would really push back on both of you guys, especially Connie, saying that they had one of the worst off seasons, because I like their off season.
Really?
Like, I don't like what they're doing at quarterback. But I think if you put Russell Wilson on this team and what they've added, I think a lot of people would be saying, I like this offseason. The two players that they added that are veterans in that Russell Wilson trade that are going to be starting for them, Shelby Harris and Noah Fant, are good players at what are now good positions for them. You have Will Dissly as the backup tight end. That's fine. I like their defensive line. Like, I think they can do some things. Darrell Taylor, they bring in Shelby Harris. They have some young players that they like. They bring in Quentin Jefferson, Poona Ford, Alton Robinson. The secondary, I think, is okay. I thought the Nuoso signing was a great one. Like, he was the best player on the field in Week 18 in that Chargers-Raiders game that was not named Justin Herbert. If he hadn't gotten banged up a little bit during that game, I think the Chargers might have gone to the playoffs. I like what they did in the draft. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be good.
Do you think that was too high for a running back in the second round with all of the other things that they needed to address when you can get a running back late?
I can live with that. Like, I know that's an analytical thing and they had an extra pick, but if Kenneth Walker is the beast that a lot of people think he is on that team, I'm not going to be like a lot of the best running backs in the league are second round picks. So are the Bengals regretting taking Joe Mixon or
part of your
analysis?
analysis?
The offensive line, I think, also has promise, is what I mean. They did some other things that I think gives them a chance.
This is all fine, but like, from a bird's eye view, you're essentially handing in the season if this is what they do at quarterback. You cannot pitch Drew Lock to us as this. We've seen Drew Lock. We know what he is. I mean, next year.
I agree with all that, but like, teams, and Pete Carroll's living in another era, but he's seen teams do okay sometimes with lousy quarterbacks. Like, Mitch Trubisky made the playoffs a couple years ago. They could win 9 games, but that's quarterback.
You're making the point, though.
Yeah,
that's why it's a bad offseason, because you can make a bunch of moves that make the roster better, but when you essentially you trade away a franchise Hall of Fame level quarterback in his prime and then don't have a replacement plan other than we have a philosophy that we believe will work. I struggle to get on board with that, and maybe it does work out. But even if, let's say everything works out, and also, I know you like Geno more than other people, so I'm sure there's part of you that says, well, it can maybe work.
The high level of Geno would be he's the 23rd best starter in the league. Like, under the Dalton scale, but is okay.
The whole, what's the point angle? Like, if the best you can do here is 9-8, maybe? Like, are you really doing what you need to do as an organization? Or is this fully a transition year and they have a bigger plan in mind and they're churning through this year? But I don't get the vibe that's what this leadership's about.
There's the chance you could get Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying he's a top 10 quarterback himself, but there's the chance that they're not done at quarterback.
Was this like an either or, Russell Wilson or Pete Carroll? Because can't you argue that it's a lot easier to replace a head coach than it is a top tier quarterback in this league?
I agree. I was banging that drum all last year, and I think a lot of this is ownership. And there's been more reports coming out recently that this team could be sold sooner than later, that the Portland Trail Blazers, which Jody Allen, who took over for the deceased Paul Allen, is supposedly going to be selling. And they're denying this publicly, but usually when this starts coming out, it really felt like ownership didn't want to shake things up, and they chose Carroll over Russell Wilson, which is
Wilson wanted out too.
You said deceased. That's heavy. It's a heavy word to use. I mean, it's right.
It just came out. Why is that? Why is that heavy? I just was pointing out. Probably people aren't totally on.
I said the late Paul Allen.
Yeah, that would have been better. ultimately.
It's almost like I'm doing a football show with a coroner or something.
Yeah, it feels very physical.
All right, let's move on.
Gregg being shamed.
I don't feel shame. I mean, he can try. I don't feel shame in this
I'm not
case.
trying to
It's
shame
up
you.
to me
And if I was,
whether
I
I
couldn't.
choose to feel it. In this
so
case,
true.
I'm not.
All right, Greg, you are up on K.
All right. I'm going to go.
The Undertaker, Greg Rosenthal.
I'm going to go with kerfuffle.
Ooh, another good
fun.
word. Let's
Great
go.
word, underused, and I think it's going to describe a little bit of what might be happening behind the scenes between Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And
Hamina.
you know, you were getting on me for sources. You know,
Not really. I was just shining a light on a
last
story.
show. And I'm just saying there are other sources out there, and some are maybe more reliable than others. But there's some buzz going around from a different source of the tension here between Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And some of it is playing out publicly, and some of it is a little more under the radar, like Mike Shanahan's been hanging around a lot more, which is a little strange. And the John Lynch almost went to Amazon thing, which seemed like it might have been coming from the John Lynch side, not the Amazon side necessarily. They're dead last in cap space. They still have Jimmy G there. Nick Bosa, in addition to Deebo Samuel, could be looking for more money. And I just feel like if things don't go well, there's a lot of tension.
Kerfuffle.
And I think there's going to be a kerfuffle here that could play out publicly, a la Bill Walsh and some of his bosses over the years. Kyle Shanahan came from that tree. Mike Shanahan came from that tree. I mean, no one fought more with their owners and their GMs than Bill Walsh. Like, that was happening all the time, even during the good times.
I don't see Kyle Shanahan losing a power struggle.
Me
in that
neither.
organization.
No, me neither.
Well, because first of all, I mean, I think you pegged the Trey Lance situation on John Lynch. I don't. There isn't a lot of
I'm not
evidence.
ready to go down that road. Like everyone's ready to just call that a bust and a mistake. It's so early.
I'm not
in the
saying
process.
it's a bust.
Oh, no,
I'm
I don't
saying
think
if
it's a bust.
If it doesn't,
they were maybe on different sides.
If it doesn't work out, it's not. I think it gets pegged on Lynch more than Shanahan, because I would imagine that Shanahan was as high on someone like Mac Jones or a different quarterback altogether. And so far, it's not a bust, but the development of Trey Lance is going very slowly, and the fact that Jimmy G is still hanging around and his salary is somewhat insane.
It's also not going away. It's like a reminder. It's like they're in a marriage, basically, and they both had their sides, and one got their way. And like the reminder of that decision is with him every single day.
Also, just for context, they came, within a fourth quarter meltdown of going to the Super Bowl last year. So this team has also had a lot of success.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I credit to Kyle Shanahan more than anyone else. I mean,
He seems to be the guy that is the golden child. So anything that good happens is because of Kyle, and then you could pin everything else on the GM. That's just the vibe I feel that comes eminent. It's from this room and from Twitter, but is that really true? Do we really know? I don't know.
There's just like
Shanahan's obviously a brilliant offensive mind.
there's so much uncertainty with Trey Lance, and then there's a lot of new faces on this coaching staff too. So you have a roster that is otherwise pretty stacked with talent. So it's kind of a weird situation.
Let's move on to L with Marc Sessler.
L is for Lamar, Mr. Jackson, if you're nasty. Okay, that was dumb. Looking to some like he's disengaged.
By the way, he did write
Oh
down
my God.
Mr. Jackson if you're nasty.
I know.
Can we tell people
Put
you're
that
a
on
Gen
social.
Xer
Put that
without
on
telling
social.
people you're a Gen Xer?
I acknowledge that it was very stupid.
That is a 1986 pop song by Janet Jackson, I believe.
I'd assume most would know that.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, I'm not 12. I'm
Time
not
keeps
26 years
moving.
old. Looking to some, Lamar Jackson like he's disengaged by not attending OTAs. But this broadcasting vehicle has taken the POV that OTAs don't matter for guys like Lamar and Aaron Rodgers. I agree with that. And we do not wish to be tisk-tissed by Mr. Jackson the way he went after Chris Sims this week. Have a nice day, Lamar Jackson. We wish you peace and joy. Ride into the sun.
Yeah, this story is less interesting to me than maybe some people. I
really knocked that out of the park.
Well, no, I'm saying that's
It's
good. I'm
good.
glad you brought it up. He's
I'm
Lamar
saying that
Jackson.
we
He's
don't
a former
care about
MVP.
this.
Yeah,
Right.
like that's. I don't need like the Chris Sims, Lamar Jackson back and forth on Twitter. It's just like it's a nothing burger. I mean, it really is. Lamar Jackson. We'll see how his contract plays out, but it's not like he's gonna disappear from the team for mandatory minicamp, right?
No.
Like, isn't that the only thing that would be
he's also
a red
come out and
flag
said,
here?
like, I can't wait to get back and hang out with you all and work with you. So
I
it's
do
kinda
like
just,
the part where the tweet started with, quote, Lamar wants to be Lamar, Chris. Which I just, reading that,
It's a little confusing.
reading that right under the name Lamar Jackson, because that's his Twitter handle, is just fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
So, yeah, I guess get back to me if all of a sudden mandatory camp starts. When's mandatory camp? That's
in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
it depends
if
on
he's
the team.
not
It's
there-
either next week or the week after. The coaches are putting on a little more pressure, though, about it. Greg Roman mentioned how like 20% of the playbooks knew it'd be good for him to be here, and so they're putting on a little pressure.
your wide receiver group is new. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want to go down that avenue, but if he skips mandatory, the situation's a little strange.
M for Mike Trout. Los Angeles Angels star Mike Trout is trying to stay out of the fantasy football league issue
I love
between
this story
Tommy
so
Pham
much.
and
He's
Jock
involved?
Peterson. Listen to this. We hit this on Monday, and I was just going to let the story go. But you should understand, if you're not a baseball fan, Mike Trout is basically the modern Mickey Mantle. That's the level of player we're talking about. And he's stuck on an Angels team that's bad every year, so it's kind of depressed his national viability as a popular athlete. But I will say this. When we find out that Tommy Pham tells reporters on Tuesday that Trout was the commissioner of this league. Remember the take I had on Monday about the slap, the kerfuffle?
Yes.
I was like, the guy who was wrong, who was in the wrong, was the commissioner of that league for not setting the IR rules strongly and which allowed people to circumvent and get cute. And I've seen it a million times in leagues I've been in. So it's on Trout to me. Pham told reporters that he is the worst commissioner in fantasy sports because he could have prevented the dispute by the two outfielders. The same thing I said. And then he's at Yankee Stadium, Trout, for a series this week. And they asked him about it during a rain delay. And Trout wanted nothing to do with it.
I ain't talking about fantasy football. I don't even know. It's just one of them things. It's everybody's competitive. Everybody loves fantasy football. Who doesn't? So,
the rule here, I think the lesson here, Colleen, is commissioners get your S in order.
Have to. I mean, you are the ones that are leading the entire league.
Even
so
if you're the modern Mickey Mantle,
Yeah.
get it together or don't be the commissioner. That's what I did. I walked away.
step down.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was too much.
It's like the most thankless job
It's the
there
worst.
is, beyond like youth league umpire or referee. That's actually even more thankless, and they deserve our thanks and respect. Commissioner, that's a tough spot.
What about in the ancient times when the commissioner actually was in charge of like tabulating stats before it became?
Oh, yes, I remember those days. I never did that, but yeah, that was not so long ago, although very long ago.
Mike Trout follows me on Twitter. That strikes me as odd.
He's a big football fan,
Wow.
big time. Maybe you should. This
That
is
was
your
a humble
chance
brag.
to get in there.
Well, I'm not
Mark.
trying to brag. I'm surprised
How
by
many
it.
people does he follow?
2,534.
Pretty
Pretty
good.
good. Doesn't follow me. Not a fan.
He's a Philly guy.
He is.
Yeah. All right, let's.
I'm actually more suspicious of that than I am.
Oh, he follows
Uplifted.
me too.
Oh, so it's
All
not
right.
well
Now
done.
I got to check. This is not going to end
It's
well.
not. I think it will end well for you.
I think it's going to be great because I'm going to be the only one left out here.
All right, does he follow you?
No.
All right, good. So come on, Mike.
The Mickey
Here we
Mantle. Today's
go.
Mickey Mantle. That's
Come on, Mike.
This is the most.
what's the result? Not good.
Not a good result for me.
I could ask him to switch following me and switch you to follow you
I think
instead.
he
You're
just-
a huge
you know,
baseball guy.
Please
He's just
do
like
that.
he just
I'll
wants
DM him.
football. He doesn't want anything else. When you throw that throwback podcast
Oh, he
link up,
doesn't need
he's
to
just
see
like
that.
you unfollow. When he sees my Courts of Thunder, just unfollows. He just,
So he
just wants a straight football.
His Twitter account
Whatever,
is
Greg.
not good, by the way. He'll just put the name of the city
attacking the
he's
account
flying
now.
to,
He's hitting out,
and then like 4 emojis of a plane. New York, Anaheim, Texas.
Oh, wow. This is a thing he
Oakland. All right,
Oh my gosh, that's
weird.
funny.
All right,
Baseball
Hey,
players, not known always for their gift with words.
not always. I'll throw in one more M on a more serious note, and this is again. You hate to see these things, especially so young. Former Dallas Cowboys and Bears running back Marion Barber has died at the age of 38. The Cowboys said in a statement on Wednesday. At this time, the cause of Barber's death is unknown. Police in Frisco, Texas, said in a statement that they responded to a welfare concern Wednesday at an apartment they believed to be leased by Barber, and they found his body. 38 years old. He was drafted in the 4th round of the 2005 NFL draft out of Minnesota, was a Pro Bowler, had some really big moments for the Cowboys, released by the Cowboys after the 2010 season, played 1 year with the Bears, and we lose him at the age of 38. Tragic. And again, we've had too many of these stories. Any of these stories, you don't want to ever have to talk about them, but we've talked about 3 now in the space of a month. Former players losing their lives, or current players, far too soon.
And I mean, there were, he's dealt with mental health issues, and they haven't, as of this taping, disclosed sort of what happened and all that. But you just worry about a lot of these players in their post-playing careers. I mean, this is a pattern that we obviously has been established, that this game of football can create major issues post-career.
What a player. I mean, it is so tragic that we lost him. For listeners that weren't around when he was at his best, he had 3 straight seasons over 1,100 yards, but his running style was electric. Like, I remember talking with Wes back in 08, 09 about Marion Barber. He really was very similar to Marshawn Lynch before Marshawn Lynch. A little similar to our friend Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah.
The way that he could run and bounce off people was just so much fun to watch, and he was great in the passing game. He was like a perfect modern back, where he was great on the goal line, great on third down, and there was just something about the energy that he ran with that... Yeah, I know he only made 1 Pro Bowl or whatever, but if you talk to ex-NFL players, he was often one of their favorite players. He was kind of one of those if you know guys that just real players respected his game in such a way. He was just a ball to watch at his peak.
He was so gifted, 4th most rushing touchdowns in Cowboys franchise history.
Wow.
He had such a specific style, Gregg, that you just kind of described there. It's just so tragic that he was so young, 38 years old. I mean, it's just a really sad ending to his story.
And if you want to watch one clip that tells you so much about what he was as a running back, he has what's known as the most famous 2-yard run in NFL history. It happened in a game against the Patriots in 2007. Where they were backed up in their old goal line. Romo hands it off. Immediately, he's in a swarm of trouble. He escapes through the back of his own end zone, rolls back out, breaks about 5 different tackles, including Junior Seau, another player who lost way too soon, and then ends up getting out of the end zone and getting past the line of scrimmage. Check it out. It's all over the internet after the sad news. But Marion Barber, dead at the age of 38. Let's take a break. All right, here we go. We're back. We got to start moving now, everybody. Connie, N.
All right, so nebulous is where I was going with the Jimmy G. Nebulous. With the Jimmy G stuff earlier, that his future, it's
I thought
very
we were skipping N.
nebulous.
There you go.
It's nebulous.
Got it.
Cool, great.
Got
okay. Off the
nebulous
hook.
in there.
Nailed it.
I was tap
Good.
dancing for a second there.
Gregg,
It's a nice one. I'm going to go owners gone wild here, and
Love it.
I mean, I don't, because they're serious topics, man. I think it's the old around the end league editor in me that I just feel like if we're doing this show, we sort of have to cover this stuff, even if they're not fun to talk about, and at least just mention what's happening with owners in this league. I feel like it's been an especially bad year for owners.
Yes.
David Tepper, the Panthers owner, is filing for bankruptcy, or at least his real estate company is filing for bankruptcy after this story that I've been tracking, and it's been interesting to me, and it's very complicated, so I'm not going to go on and on about it. But basically, they started building a facility in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Huge.
And it was half built, and because of an argument with the local government, and that he stopped building it. So it's literally sitting there. It's half built.
Oh, no.
What a waste.
They had already started it. They've been
the new team facility.
The new team facility had been
no.
undergoing construction for a while, and it's just there now. And now there's lawsuits, and I'm not going to speak an opinion on all this stuff, but it definitely doesn't look great. I mean,
it's not a good look.
If he was a different owner that's a little more high profile, imagine the New York tabloids, how much fun they would be having with an owner that started building a team facility and is advertised as the wealthiest owner in the NFL, and then stops and then declares bankruptcy.
I wish I was.
And one little note, it's not tied to the bankruptcy declaration
it's his
was
real
not,
estate holdings
right, it's
company.
Not his
it's not
personal,
tied to the Panthers.
It's not his personal money, and so it actually doesn't affect the Panthers at all. But it's kind of like, what a rich guy move to be able to go do what he did, declare bankruptcy, and get out of this whole thing.
There's nary a financial expert in this room right now, but it's a famous like super rich guy move to declare bankruptcy, and you just think, oh, that must be really bad, but it's like one of his holdings, and it doesn't even affect his day-to-day life on any level. But still, it's not, Greg, I guess, the optics.
No, and meanwhile, they don't have. They've been talking about how their facilities need an upgrade for a long time.
It's the oldest one,
not
right?
enjoying their training camp setup, and so they're still kind of stuck in nowhere. So we heard a lot of great things about when they changed ownership, and they've had quite a few hiccups in the last
It's been
5
a rough
years.
couple of years for the
Panthers. And then the other ownership story, which again I don't think we need to discuss, but it's pretty compelling, is that the U.S. House Oversight Committee on Oversight and Reform has invited Roger Goodell, our boss, and Dan Snyder to appear at a hearing as part of an investigation into the Commanders' team workplace conduct. And there's been different talk about whether Snyder could lose his job, whether he could be voted out. Well, the fact that they're asking Roger Goodell to appear in front of Congress in front of this as part of this, basically as he's partly responsible for what's happened with everything going on there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes and if they actually show up and what happens. But
we should send Mark over there to be our like George Stephanopoulos.
Oh my God, wake me up!
Day-to-day reporting.
Wake me up!
It's like late June, so that's a perfect time for you, right? Yeah, we're locked in. There's no way they could get rid of us now.
Like, like the outside the courtroom guy that just has to live there. Remember, like when the lockout was going on and they just had Burp Rear sleeping outside.
This is like
building.
a much lower octane version of that.
You'll get that, but you're going to be on the duty of like Snyder, Goodell, litigation. Constant updates on the show.
A lot of legalese.
It never ends with this team. This could be a permanent beat. This team, there's always a story with this team.
What if we decamp you down there to D.C., surrounding territories? And
I do. If it ends up that an owner is essentially removed because of this whole thing, that is a shifting point in the NFL. Because
we send you personally.
I gotta say, I'd be on that story. Sure.
Honestly, if you're telling Mark he's got to go decamp into the D.C. Virginia wilderness for a year or two, I feel like he might embrace that.
Right. I come out of it with a very boring book about the whole process. It's quickly on age.
Next, Mark on P.
All right. P is for...
I'm pissed off, Angelo.
Yes!
All right. A feeling
Dougie.
that Doug Peterson no longer needs to feel after taking over a low expectations Jaguars team with a potentially brilliant quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and camp reports of Travis Etienne operating as a super juicy X factor. I'm not saying worst to first in the AFC South, but I feel like this team has been aggressively ignored this offseason. And why can't this Jaguars team, I know last year was an absolute disaster, just to not be in that situation. You'd think they're already 5 or 6 wins better. They blew up the Bills a year ago. They ended the Colts season. There is some talent on both sides of the ball. Why can't they have a little bit of fun in 2022? And why are they being ignored?
Well, because they're the Jaguars and they've had the #1 overall pick 2 years in a row, which is a disgrace. So they don't deserve a lot of pub. However, I've been like gently tapping the drum on this.
Oh, yeah?
This offseason.
Doesn't Doug Peterson feel like the right coach at the right time for this team?
He does.
Yes, I think it was a smart, sensible hire. Rick, I know, Connie, you are someone who has a nice relationship with Doug Peterson. You
I
guys
love
are
Doug
friends,
Peterson.
Right?
So you're gonna
he's
root for
great.
him.
Yeah, we all hung out.
He's a biographer.
Yeah,
He's a Super Bowl champion with the Eagles.
He's the perfect head coach to take over for the Jags, especially after what they just came through. I mean,
he's an author too, an author,
and,
a biographer,
exactly.
Bestseller. Well, maybe in Philadelphia.
He's a wordsmith.
Right.
I'm pissed off.
I think
Angelo.
their roster is a lot better. I think that they went into the last 2 years with a bottom 3 to 5 roster. I think that excuse might be gone. Like, they look legitimately frisky, like in the front 7, and then you kind of go through each position group. Other than the secondary, they all look like average. Like, I don't think this is the 31st best roster on paper. I think they're getting the upgrade in coach, and I think the expectations should be higher.
And it should also be said, something we brought up a couple weeks on the show, a couple weeks ago, that they've spent wildly trying to reconfigure the roster, and they're putting themselves in a difficult cap situation down the road. So we gotta see some results this year, and then you need the front office to be smart. And I don't know if we
that
trust
situation's
what's going on
a little
there,
shaky.
but yes, I feel like they are in a much more a much more better situation to be frisky than certainly last year with that joke of a coach.
Right. Peterson taking over for Urban Meyer reminds me of what Bill Parcells liked to do. Like, he didn't want to be the guy taking over for the guy. He wanted to be the next guy. Not that the Jaguars have had many guys that succeeded.
You want to replace a co-type.
Right. There's some coaches in this offseason that are inheriting pretty good situations. There's more immediate pressure. If they win 6 games, I think, and Trevor Lawrence plays well, everyone's going to be happy.
That's the expectations are manageable.
This connects to yours, Mark. Q for questions or queries on second-year quarterback south of Quebec.
Wow, look at you.
Wait, say Quebec again.
Quebec. You could say Quebec or Quebec.
I say
believe.
We should get Bonetta on the line.
The real ones, as Gregg would say. No, it's Quebec.
I just like the wordsmith here. You would think, coming off a big contract extension would start phoning it in here, but Dan is going the extra mile.
Are you texting Rachel right now?
I'm also not saying that I say it right. I'm just saying that's how I say it. I don't want to get into some sort of Canadian clash.
Yeah. Hang on.
We could just call her and put her on speakerphone, not let her know that she's on speakerphone.
Yeah,
that would be better.
All right, here we go. I'm going to call Rachel. Everyone should know is from our northern neighbors. Let's see. Hey, Rachel, what's up? Hey, we're taping the podcast right now, and we just brought up one of the provinces up there in your native land. Quebec. Correct pronunciation we're looking for.
Quebec?
Quebec?
That's how I say it.
But what about the theory
the
that
real ones?
Some have the theory that the real ones call it Quebec.
Quebec.
She's on the Mark side. I think it's pretty clear.
So Quebec?
Quebec.
Case closed.
All right. Well, Rachel, we'll get together after the show and have a conversation. Okay. I think she said you're both. Thank you, Rachel.
Bye, Rach.
I'm team Hanzus on this one. Believe it or not, a third of my family, the Chavez clan, lives in Montreal.
No way.
Yes.
Quebec. They say Quebec.
It's clearly, though, that's another Canadian we've just spoken to. Clearly not everyone's on the same page here.
Well, I mean, if they grew up in the area, so they have that accent. They
right.
speak French, so it's just Quebec to them,
I'd like to go anchor back to the point that I wasn't saying, look at me, I'm saying it right. I'm just saying that's how
I didn't say you were wrong either.
Right. No, but Dan pretty much did say the real ones, said it the other way.
Right, so you just assumed that out of the gate.
Can you repeat that line? Because it was impressive.
Oh, Q. Yeah. For questions or queries on second-year quarterback south of Quebec.
Like it. Feels like a warm-up, like a vocal warm-up.
Trevor Lawrence.
Dig into this.
Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Davis Mills. I'm going to throw him in there. He deserves it. Deserves to be in the conversation. Who do you most confident in makes that year 2 leap? Where we stand right now, I think Mac Jones is the one that makes the most sense because he was by far the most promising. But we can't ignore the
unless
Judge,
Raggedy
Matt Patricia,
Ann and Andy are calling plays.
And there's no Josh McDaniels, which I think is notable. The supporting cast is better. Do you still think, Greggy, or do you think at all that Mac Jones is the guy most likely to have a nice year 2 jump?
Well, the way the question is phrased, I think Trevor Lawrence is the most likely to have the biggest jump because he's coming from the lowest point along with Zach Wilson. I would say they were comparable, although I would take Lawrence.
Fields is pretty ground up right now as well.
He is, although I really think Justin Fields was at a higher level for his start, showed more, had better.
Look at statistically and some of the metrics that measure the play.
That's fair. So I think Lawrence is the safest bet that way because I think Mac Jones' ceiling is much higher than people realize. I think he can absolutely be the best quarterback in this class this year and have the best career. But this season, in terms of a second-year leap, Lawrence, you have a lot to work with. So even if he's like a little better than league average, that's a monstrous jump from where he was.
What about the boy?
Yeah, Zach Wilson, and you talk about where you were last year and where he could go. There's a good environment around him.
They did a good job. They've now supported him, surrounding cast. He's got another year in the same offense. If he doesn't take the next significant leap this year, they should be in the market for someone else next year. That's how I feel about that situation.
If Mac Jones takes a significant leap, I mean, he'll be one of the best 8 quarterbacks in the league or so. And I think of him a little bit as a poor man's Joe Burrow, and I think they had similar rookie seasons. Obviously doesn't have the mobility. He already was like a league average quarterback. So if he makes another jump, he's like a top 10 quarterback.
I kind of want it to be Davis Mills just so this year is crazy.
He had a lot of
Davis
moments
Mills
last
never
year.
gets talked about, and he was better than Zach Wilson a year ago.
I mean, his
Not
last,
just Zach Wilson.
I mean,
right.
no,
If you just look at
on
the
a
last
terrible team,
right? If you look at just the last 5 games of the season, which is a random sample size, but he was the best rookie quarterback in those 5 games. By then, Mac Jones was taking on a little water and had some ups and his downs, and Davis Mills flashed, man. He doesn't look like an under-talented guy that's like try-hard guy. He looks like he could have been a first-round pick.
All right, Connie, how much time? What you have a hard out at 1?
1.
We have 11 minutes with Connie.
Okay.
We're
going to finish this. How
We
about
got it.
that?
We got it. We got it.
R, Colleen.
Okay, here we go. Quick. Rad. That's how Devontae Adams is going to look in his Raiders jersey. I'm really excited about him with
good.
Derek Carr.
It's good.
Josh McDaniels will constantly get him the ball. And maybe they'll be at the bar. Who knows? But I just think that Adams proving everyone wrong who thinks that he's not going to be as good without Rodgers is so perfect. Like 29 is the new 21. Everyone's thriving in their 30s now.
El Problemo.
S.
That just blew up one of my later letters.
The pressure's on.
I'm going to go Super Bowl or bust. That's what Broncos receiver Tim Patrick said about this Denver team on Wednesday. And this is a situation where a new quarterback, a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator, and a team that hasn't had virtually any success is Super Bowl or bust. That is asking a lot, but if they're going to be led by one guy who will take it calmly, it's the coolest guy in the room. It's Russell Wilson.
Just put my jersey on for the first time. Broncos orange, let's ride.
That's not how he talks.
Green screening it with my boy. Yes, sir. Let's go. We in the orange, baby. Let's go. Let's ride, baby. Ooh, so clean right now. No cat. Well, we know what we doing.
There's a difference.
This is character he's playing.
Well, it's different in every video. That's the thing. There's the teammates one. That was one. There's the Ciara one. There's the Ciara one. Yeah. But there's the one with Ciara in bed. But there's also the Ciara like more in a public place, and that has its own
family
tone. Then
Ciara.
There's press conferences answering questions, which is totally different.
Right.
There's just a lot of different ones.
Platforming new slogans. Like there's that version, the corporate Russ.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just hear him again? It's just like it seems like he's just acting.
Yes, a veneer.
Just put my jersey on for the first time. Broncos orange, let's ride. Green screening it with my boy. Yes, sir. Let's go. We in the orange, baby. Let's go. Let's ride, baby. Ooh, so clean right now. No cat. Well, we know what we doing.
He is the coolest guy in the NFL.
Now, what if I had a theory? And it's just isn't it possible at least that he's acting the rest of the time? And this is the real Russell.
Which one?
That's a
I think
corner.
What's the
decent,
rest of the time?
I think that like the press conferences, I guess,
a corner
is
to be
more
on.
is more where I would be there for.
It's definitely a corner.
I don't know.
A lot of
Super Bowl or bust. By the way, I agree. They could win the Super Bowl, or they could be 6-11. I think they have the biggest variance of maybe any team in the NFL.
You believe
there
that
could be a bust.
Is your theory that that's the most authentic Russell Wilson as his true self?
That's the one.
I think there's a possibility of that's more Russell.
I know you don't believe what you're saying
presenting,
right
no, but that he's been presenting outward in a predominantly white world at NC State and Wisconsin for a long time.
I think also there's the
different
athlete brain. Like I think I've told you this. In college, there was a baseball player that lived next to me, and he left for a week, and he had plants, and so he asked me to go in and water his plants. And all around the room, I mean, not kidding, there were like 150 self-motivational phrases put up all over the place, and it always makes me think of Russell Wilson, who seems just like slogan after slogan.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Because you want to get on him for being the cornball and all this stuff. And
I think ultimately what it is.
It's all fair, but he got Ciara.
But
in
we
the
can
end,
we can see that he's
it.
not his true self. Like we could see that he's putting something
He's
on.
not. It's not mean-spirited, honestly, toward him, or it doesn't mean he's not a good guy. Because by all accounts, he's an upstanding citizen and a good dude and a good teammate. There's a try-hard aspect to it.
I think that's
that
with all the voices.
All right, let's. Where are we at? What was that, Greg? That was letter
That
what?
was S.
All right, we are running out of time with Connie now. T, Mark.
All right, T is for Ted, as in Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, and Lael Collins, the completely rebuilt right side of the Bengals O-line. A reconstruction I don't think that has gotten enough attention and turns the sexiest team in the AFC North into a squad with no overt weakness and an absolute badass flinging touchdown darts to and fro in Joe Burrow. T is for talk more about the totally unknown ceiling of the AFC's most interesting team. That's right. Remember when I used to say this and would get on the TV all the time? This is the most interesting team in the AFC. Stick it in a commercial.
Did you say it into your?
This is the most interesting team in the AFC.
We don't have those cameras.
Are you
available.
a Bengals fan now? Is that what's happening?
We're due to tape these new ones, so let me get one too. Man, this football action, it keeps getting better.
Gregg?
I think they'll win. That's the actual things that they say. They always take the most innocuous, can't be specific about anything.
Is this my camera?
Yeah, that's your camera.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
That's a good one.
I like that we're all talking to the cameras aren't lighting up. The cameras aren't working.
It's our own vanity show. It's fun.
Ingesting. They're speeding. We got speed.
They just tell us that. None of this is actually being recorded.
All right,
I like that theory, though. I like that theory.
What was your theory? I completely forgot.
That they're interesting.
Oh, the Bengals. Yeah.
Their big weakness got completely shored up.
They also that was a magical run, magic carpet
I know,
ride, the
but
kicker
But there are
everything.
different types of teams that go on magical runs, and they're
see.
actually sort of better than
Yes.
like they have a chance to be better.
Yeah,
I'm
I agree.
with you.
I'm not taking down the Bengals. They're a team, a fun team. Here we go. Moving on. Are we at you?
Yes.
All right. I don't have much here. I was kind of stumped here, so I'm just going to move quickly on usage trends at tight end. This from Rich Harbar at Sharp Football. Last season, NFL tight ends pass blocked at their lowest rate since at least 2013, aligned inline at their lowest rate since at least 2013, gained their largest share of league-wide receiving yards since 2015. It did make me think about when we were doing our fantasy wide receiver draft, and we had Phoebe coming out with Kyle Pitts. Just like if you're a team, and I was rooting for a team for so long that was punting on tight end as a receiver, it's just like, no, you're behind the league. These guys are big part of what they're doing, and it's not good enough anymore to just be like, oh, he's a good blocker. It's not where the league is.
Right.
Yeah.
Move on.
Okay.
V.
All right, here we go.
Connie.
I can give you like 10 more minutes just in case as a buffer.
I think we're going to do it.
All right,
I think we're going to do it.
V is for vacillate, and that's with Brady's relationship with football and retirement. He just keeps vacillating between the two. And the only reason I bring up this tired storyline is because he talked about it again on TNT last night after the match. I don't know if you guys watched this, but it was fascinating. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes.
I want to watch the interview at least afterwards with Ernie Johnson.
That's what I mean. I didn't actually watch the match. I don't do golf, even though I hosted that golf show.
You did.
Ernie Johnson
scrubbed it from the internet.
Did such a good job with facilitating the whole conversation. It was awesome. It was really cool to have them all together and really revealing. But Brady talked about retiring next year, and it's obviously going to be a thing that continues on for the rest of our lives, it feels like. But he was even kind of talking through the process of deciding to come back, and it seemed like he was spinning a little bit as he was talking. And so that in and of itself was really, really revealing, I thought.
He seemed
Spinning
like he was...
in what way, you mean?
Like he was taking us through how he started to sort of panic a little bit when, and he didn't say this, but you could tell in the way that he was talking about it, like when free agency was about to start, that he needed to make up his mind. And then as soon as he made up his mind one way, he felt like he made the wrong decision. And it was just kind of interesting to see him bring us in.
And not
it
be
gets you to think too that like there probably is no definite answer on what's going to happen next year, because I don't think he has a definite answer.
Even if he has a plan now, as
well,
we
also
saw.
I think the football season itself will dictate whether he's angry and must come back, or they win a Super Bowl and he's like, I'm out. You know,
there was a moment that I just saw mentioned on Twitter, which I just loved, which is they asked him about his TV deal, and he said, like, he looked at that as his chance to give back to the game. And Aaron Rodgers responded, "You ever get paid so much for giving back?" It's just like the perfect. I mean, there are times when Aaron Rodgers is annoying, but I feel like he would be the perfect guy in a group of friends for that, to be like, to call your friend on his bullshit. Oh yeah, you're giving back for $37 million a year to talk about football.
There was another clip. They were sitting in the round, and someone asked what's Josh Allen's the thing he fears most or hates the most, and then Patrick Mahomes like piped in.
Josh's biggest fear:
vegetables.
A coin toss.
Yeah, that's a tough
And he was like, and then it happened to me next week.
I heard Mahomes was fantastic on that, by the way.
He was so good.
Yeah.
I highly recommend watching it.
All right. Greg.
Okay. I'm going to go wobbly, and that would be how I would describe the status of Isaiah Wynn. Also a W on the New England Patriots.
Well done.
First-round draft pick from 4 years ago, who's been up and down. PFF always loves him, but the Patriots coaching staff never seems to. And he doesn't stay healthy. He's been skipping OTAs. And I would put wobbly to describe a few different little parts of this Patriots roster, but also Nelson Aguilar's place on the team. I think this team has some team building to do between now and September. If there was a team that I think will look a little different than they do right now, I think the Patriots are high up there. They just seem like they have some big roster holes. They have some guys that don't quite fit. I don't know if Wynn is going to be on their team. I don't know if Nelson Aguilar is going to be on their team. I think maybe Dante Hightower will be back on their team. It just feels like there's a lot of weird spots. But that was going to be their left tackle of the future, and there seems to be some issues.
And they moved Trent Brown over there, and I
Trent
think
Brown has been
about
playing
that
there in practice.
Right, I think about that report where, and not to harp on the who's going to call plays, like these coaches can probably figure it out. I'm not overly concerned about that. It didn't work for the Dolphins, but there were players saying that practices seemed super discombobulated, and they were like, what on earth is going on? So when you look at Mac Jones, who does need to be set up to succeed, you've lost Josh McDaniels, who I don't know about him as a head coach, but he's a great OC. There's a sense of hubris here where it's like, we're going to run into an NFL season with 6 coaches on our staff and no clear designation of who does what. Good times.
A big part of why Mac Jones stood out from the rest of the rookies last year is he was by far put in the best position of those other quarterbacks. So once again, the track record, again, this is Bill Belichick. So I still side on it like this is going to be all worked out. But yeah, it's notable that things seem so clunky, and they won 10 games last year.
It really seems like Belichick
playoffs.
is the guy right now. When
He's
they watch
wind up
practice,
calling
seems like
plays.
he's kind of the offensive guy.
I feel like there is, and I've been guilty of this in the past, but there's sometimes a rush to throw dirt on the Patriots, and then it's like there is too much talent
they throw it
behind
right
the
back.
scenes.
I agree with that part. They usually find a
especially
way.
the guy in the big chair.
But their roster they just have some weird spots in it, defensively, offensively. The Aguilar thing is they actually have enough good receivers. Maybe they don't need them.
Wobbly.
X,
Mark.
This is the one that I've just recrafted and rethought about because it was deep sixed earlier. X is for XO. Well, it's not very good. X is for XO. Hugs and kisses. Kirk and O'Connell sitting in a tree. KISSING. First come love, then comes marriage. Seems nice. But what happens when the games start? Are we buying this romance?
you led us to the end, though. You needed a rhyme there.
I ran out of time.
He was on a fly.
I ran out of time.
It was a tough
still
sitch.
pretty good.
First comes love. Then comes marriage. Then
but
comes.
what
And then the
happens
games
when
start?
the games start? A whole bunch of cabbage. I don't know.
Is it how about this? First comes
Probably
love,
not that.
then comes marriage. But what happens when the games start? A broken carriage.
There you go. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's fine.
I mean,
What happens when you lose grip of the baby carriage?
But
Well,
who's
that would
the
be
baby?
a problem too.
Cousins mentioned how this is the first offseason where he's had to truly learn a new offense in 7 or 8 years, which I hadn't thought about. He's really been in the same type of system, and even then, it's not that far off of where he was with Sean McVay back in Washington and everything like that.
I mean, it's very Rams-esque, right?
Right. But he at least was saying it felt different. Maybe that's good. Maybe he was too comfortable.
They'll go 7-10 or 10-7,
Oh God.
and nothing in between, and will not make a deep playoff.
Oh, you
run.
could work in disparage, maybe.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'll keep working on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe send
We'll
an
come
update
back
at some
to
point.
at the very end of the episode. We're
No,
almost
no,
there.
no.
Why? For you need to calm down. And I say that in reference to OTA reports on struggles and success. We've talked about this before, so we don't need to dwell on it. But I don't care. Some jabroni sent me a tweet today, just like Zach Wilson went 1 for 5 in red zone
my
today.
God.
Doesn't matter.
So I
Come
guess
on,
you got a
people.
bust on your hands.
Come on, people.
Anyway, another reporter that I respect was reporting on an OTA goal line drill last week, and the reporters were stationed in the opposite end zone. And if you've ever been at a football field,
and they're playing 7-on-7, there's no tackling,
100
there's no
yards
nothing.
away at field level, you might as well be in a submarine. Like there's no viewpoint on what's actually happening,
right?
And yet you're using that as a reporting and you're writing about it. Anyway, it's not on them. They're there because football's so effing popular that it will be consumed by readers and viewers and listeners. So I get that, but just don't get too caught up in it. Neither good or bad. Like Tua, for example, went in front of the media today and was kind of bragging about a bomb he threw to Tyreek Hill. Like, you guys weren't there for that. You should have seen it. It's like, I hope you could throw a bomb to Tyreek Hill in a practice where there's nobody could touch you. Like, everybody just, you need to calm down. This is just reps and guys getting ready for a long summer and season to come.
That's a good PSA. I think that everyone needs to absorb that.
Right. I feel like that's a young reporters thing that they put too much on the OTAs because you want to feel like your time is valuable. You're there,
right?
And I used to write these like winners and losers of OTAs, like whose stock is up and stuff. And then you realize, especially now, because the practices are different than they were 15 years ago too. It's not even practice; it's just like teaching sessions. There's nothing there.
Everything is a trope alert.
Closing it out with Connie and the letter Z.
Z is for Zamboni.
Of course it is.
The machine that's used to clean and clear the ice at a rink.
Yeah. I almost got run over by one when I was covering high school hockey.
How? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but man, that would be
right
dangerous.
after the game, literally right after a game ended, I had to get across the ice into the locker room
on sneakers,
and I was looking at my notepad. I swung the door open, I was just about to take a step, and the thing went vroom.
Oh my gosh!
Would have been a rough way to go.
We would not beat. There would be no show.
There would be no contract extension.
Or it would be yes, it would not be good. Put it that way.
Wow.
That's it. That's a sliding door scenario that I get run over by a Zamboni at age 23 for the Journal News.
Death by Zamboni is probably the worst. I can't think of a
because
worse
it feels
way to go.
avoidable.
Because ultimately, like people are counting the days till they can make little jokes about it.
A Zamboni is like super loud though too. Like it's not like it's a Prius. This is not like an
there are
EV
people
vehicle.
In the stands, and you're busy, and you're scrambling, and you just. Go ahead.
Okay, so anyway,
real journalist.
I made it. Hey, listen.
There is the feeling of having fresh ice, like all to yourself. There's nothing like it. If you are a skater, I'm sure it's the same thing for like hockey players too. And
journalists.
I feel like Matty Ice right now has a completely clean, fresh
That's how you
slate
close it.
in Indy. And the Colts are going to the playoffs after the Zamboni cleared up all of the Wentz mess. And if Matt Ryan goes down or gets hurt, then Frank Reich has Nick Foles just waiting right there in the wings.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I talked about this on Monday. This all feels overly pat. And I get it, Nick Foles and Connie and Eagles fans. You love that man. I get it. But like... It's like, oh, we got the quarterback, and if that doesn't work out, we got Nick Foles, and we know what happened last time. It's like, you still need a lot of things to break right for this team to be better than it was last year, and break Reich.
I know, that's what I thought you were saying.
I don't know. I like Matt Ryan. I don't know if they're going to be that much better. Like,
I was ready to be skeptical.
Like, what's going
they were
on
one
here?
of those teams when I went through the projected starters and looked at the whole roster. I was like, you know what? I think Chris Ballard's done it again. Let's overhype the Colts.
Who do we like? Oh, Michael Pittman, obviously. Like, who else do we like?
Jonathan Taylor.
On in terms of pass catchers, guys that are difference makers.
It's a concern that Paris Campbell is your number 2, number 3, and Alec Pierce. They love the rookie second round pick, but it's like a rookie vertical second round pick you're counting on to be your number 2. You got a couple tight ends with Mo Alley Cox, and you drafted Jelani Woods, but you're right, it's a bad receiver.
They
group.
might not be done at wide receiver because there's the Odell Beckham situation sitting out there. You could add someone still.
And Matt Ryan can pretty much put it wherever he wants.
And then
it's been
there you go.
It's true.
That's what Michael Pittman said.
They signed Stephon Gilmore.
Yes.
There's no recovery.
No, there isn't.
Stephon Gilmore. The Yannick Ngakoue trade, I think, got forgotten. Nice little group up front with Kwity Paye, who would look pretty good, and Buckner is there. It's just it's
things are
pretty
going
good.
really well for that team until they weren't anymore. But you need Matt Ryan to still be Matt Ryan.
Manageable division.
All right. Well,
Kanu, we've taken over. Your extension.
That's okay.
You're going to be late. What do you need to do? Pick up John from his barbershop or
just waiting outside the barbershop for 90 minutes?
No, I have to take the dogs to a vet appointment. but it's like, logistically.
Is there an illness, or it's just a
No,
checkup?
they have to get like blood work done.
I thought when you said blitzing at the beginning of the show, I thought you were saying blitzing.
Right.
Your
I
dog,
was.
who
I
I
was.
slept in a bed with
Yeah.
just last month.
Oh, we still do sleepovers.
It was nice.
I do love how authentically those dogs are your children.
Oh my God, they are.
They are great
They're going to
dogs.
give them stickers when they get back from the doctor's office.
Oh my
or
God, they
maybe
get
some ice
certificates
cream
of
for 'em.
bravery when like they have surgery.
I was sleeping on your
They're
couch,
lucky.
and like one of your dogs, it was so dark I couldn't tell, came and licked my nose, and then like left a little bit later.
That was probably Blitzy.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Friendly.
Thank you, Colleen,
You're welcome, Dan.
for all that you do, for being part of the team, both now,
And forever.
yesterday, and
Amen.
tomorrow.
Congratulations again, guys. This
thanks.
is a huge day, a huge
I'm glad you were here
announcement
for
for
it.
you guys.
It's
I'm so
fitting.
happy.
And we celebrated with a bloated 90-minute episode of Around the NFL. But now you know what's going on in our league as we head into the darkest part of the offseason. Thank you again to all the listeners. Thank you to Chris Wessling, wherever you are, our friend. Thank you to Graver, Ricky Tamposi, Sid, all the other people that have helped us through the years. Heed the call.
Little chunky. I call that a little Josh Allen-y.